Becoming a wife and mother can be a dream come true.
They were a very close family, and she had a great man taking care of her.
It seemed as if things were only going to get better from there.
But what happens when you hit a few bumps in the road to forever after?
He has a gunshot wound to the back of the head.
It just seems so unreal to get that kind of news.
I think it threw us all for a loop. It was unbelievable, you know.
When loyalty takes center stage, how far would you go for the man you've built your life with?
Most of the time you hear about a love triangle. In this instance, it was a love crossword puzzle.
She did these things in the name of love.
August 31st, 2013, Chicago, Illinois. Famous for its architecture, food, sports, and music, the Windy City is one of a kind.
Chicago, one of the best cities in the world. Tough, loving, family-oriented. Chicago is a place like none other. So much talent everywhere you look.
It's a great place to grow up. Maybe cliche, I feel like if you can survive in Chicago, you can survive anywhere.
And on this cool summer morning, Chicago Police Dispatch gets a call shortly after 11 a.m. from a distraught homeowner. He tells the operator he just made a shocking discovery outside his house.
He came outside into his backyard. He was gonna go to his garage to start his car up about 11:20 in the morning, and he was shocked to see a person laying in the gangway leading into his yard.
A gangway is a very Chicago thing. It's like an alleyway, but it's a lot narrower. It's very dark. It's between houses.
He initially thought the person was possibly a drunk, had wandered down his gangway and passed out. But he realized, quite to his shock, that the person was pretty obviously deceased.
Police immediately head to the address, which is in the Morgan Park neighborhood on the south side.
Officers responded, and they do observe the body laying on the ground. Appears to be a middle-aged male, black, casually dressed, white t-shirt, gym shoes, and blue jeans. He's laying on the ground, face down. As they get closer, it's apparent to the police that he has a gunshot wound to the back of the head. So it's pretty clearly a homicide at that point. The first thing we want to do is try and see if we can identify who this person is.
They go through his pockets. They can't find any identification, can't find any personal effects that will give them any clue as to who this person is.
Doesn't appear to be any jewelry. There's no wallet. Surprisingly, there's no cell phone, although there is a cell phone case attached.
This is obviously some kind of robbery, since he has nothing on him. So they're thinking, well, who is this guy? Does he live in the neighborhood?
The stunned homeowner says he never heard a gunshot and doesn't recognize the man.
The next question is how he got there. We'd have to assume that he had a car, but notably his car keys are missing. Maybe there was some type of a carjacking.
There isn't much more detectives can do until an identity is made.
After the police remove the victim from the scene, he's then taken to the Cook County morgue and the body is processed.
With little else to go on, police canvass the area, hoping neighbors can provide more information about the crime.
Nobody saw anything, but at least two of the neighbors said they did think that they heard a single gunshot, and this was somewhere around 4 o'clock in the morning.
Neighbors offer a potential timeline for the shooting. But detectives are still missing one crucial piece of information.
You want to identify who the victim is, and then we can start reaching out to initially family members.
A day later, on September 2nd, the autopsy confirms the man was killed at close range by a single shot to the back of the head.
It seems personal that they certainly intently shot this person in the back of the head.
Luckily, they're able to identify him through his fingerprints. Turns out, he's one of Chicago's hottest club promoters, 33-year-old John "Fuzzy" Atkins. John "Fuzzy" Atkins was the youngest of 3 children in a close-knit family.
We grew up on the south side of Chicago. Me, my brother, and my other brother, we grew up in the most loving and caring environment. We might not have had much, but what we did have was love.
John got his nickname, Fuzzy, from his father.
His father was police, so they call him the Fuzz. So that's what, so we had Big Fuzzy and Little Fuzzy.
Fuzzy's energetic personality made him stand out from the rest.
He was always upbeat. So just having him as a little brother was amazing.
That personality soon led him down an exciting path.
Back in the day, they used to do a lot of parties at the YMCA and stuff like that. And he got into promoting.
Once he was old enough, Fuzzy started attending different venues.
Him and his crew would come in there and they would turn up on the dancing side. Ladies came out to, drink and have a good time, but I felt like they also came out to see Fuzzy turn up and dance at the club.
He was a hell of a dancer. Nobody could outdance Fuzzy, and Fuzzy would dance and sweat all night long. It was a party when Fuzzy came in.
One thing eventually led to another, to where it's like, okay, we need this guy hosted. We see he has an attraction.
Then in 2013, Fuzzy had an opportunity to grow his following even more.
We have a close friend named Shondell, and Shondell is one of the owners, I believe, of Raw TV Radio on Power 92. And he knew Shondell.
We, spotlight a lot of Chicago artists, and it seemed like he was real passionate about it. And I saw something in him.
Once Shondell gave him that shot, he kind of just blew up from there.
Fuzzy's radio success fueled his rise in the world of club promotions.
He started hosting a lot of events for celebrities. He did some basketball players. It really took off really fast for him, really fast.
Seeing him elevate to going from being the dancer to the host to throwing the parties to, man, he on the radio now. It was great times. He was living the life.
But now the successful club promoter has been found dead in Morgan Park. Based on the autopsy results, detectives believe this may have been a targeted attack.
Noting the gunshot to the back of the head, the assumption is going to be, it was personal.
He was flashy. He definitely had a flash about himself.
You're out here in the crowd, you're around all these people. All of them are not your friends.
In Chicago, Illinois, police have just identified their murder victim as 33-year-old club promoter John "Fuzzy" Atkins, who was at the top of his game in the summer of 2013.
We're able to identify the victim, and now, we can reach out to the family members and start developing some type of timeline as when was the last person to talk to this person.
On September 2nd, 2013, 2 days after his murder, police visit Fuzzy's family. and break the sad news to them.
I think I was kind of in shock and numb at the same time. It just seems so unreal to get that kind of news.
Through tears, his mother tells detectives that on the night of August 30th, Fuzzy had a gig at a popular club on the South Side.
He was on his way to the club when she talked to him.
She said she didn't notice nothing unusual. You know, he just said, you know, I love you, Mom, and, you know, the normal thing.
Family members have no idea why he was found 30 miles from home.
He had never mentioned Morgan Park. He had never mentioned knowing anybody in Morgan Park.
Who would do that? Who in the hell would even want to kill him? You know? We couldn't think of nobody.
However, they do mention that Fuzzy had been boasting about his lucrative success.
He was flashy. He definitely had a flash about himself. The clothes, the haircut, saying like to keep a nice amount of money in his pocket. He drove pretty nice cars.
He was making incredible amounts of money, and it wasn't just money, it was cash. Fuzzy was very proud of that, and he tended to put that kind of stuff on social media.
The mother shared that she had always been kind of nervous and concerned and had cautioned him about his flashy lifestyle.
With robbery the likely motive, detectives put out a bolo for Fuzzy's missing vehicle. They also request his phone records, which can be a time-consuming process in Chicago.
There's such a backlog on requests for cell phone records, and there's kind of like really no way to be placed in the front of the line.
While they wait, detectives backtrack Fuzzy's steps the night he was murdered.
Police head to the club where Fuzzy was last seen.
They sit down and they talk to the club owner to kind of assess, was there anything that was out of the ordinary?
Did you notice anything unusual? Was there any type of disturbance, a fight? Did he get into it with anybody there at the club? And he said, you know, absolutely not.
The owner says Fuzzy was extremely popular, especially with his female patrons.
This could have been an instance of maybe a lover's quarrel, jealousy.
While investigators chew on that possibility, the club owner shares one last piece of information.
He said he knows for a fact that Fuzzy left out that evening with at least $2,000 in cash in his pocket. He's seen leaving the club at 3:18 in the morning, and at least 2 people heard a gunshot somewhere around 4. This club is like 10 miles away from where Fuzzy's final resting place was, and it's about 30 miles away from his home. So the next question is going to be, what leads him to that location?
In the coming days, there's no sign of Fuzzy's car, and his phone records have yet to come through. Then, on October 22nd, a month and a half after Fuzzy's murder, Chicago police get a new piece to the puzzle.
Gary, Indiana, which is about 40 minutes outside of Chicago, notifies the CPD that they have found Fuzzy's car.
Someone was passing this area of woods and saw this burned out car.
It's a fairly common method of offenders to try and get rid of all evidence by setting a car on fire. And it's pretty much burnt to a crisp.
So the car, as exciting as it was to find, is now a dead end too.
Although finding the car does tell detectives something about the perpetrator.
The fact that somebody took the time to drive 30 miles outside of the city, procure some type of accelerants, that takes some effort. Why take the car to begin with? It's suggesting to us that this wasn't just a random carjacking.
3 more months go by, and the trail continues to run cold. Until finally, in January 2014, there's a development.
Police finally get the cell phone records back.
As they suspected, it was quite revealing.
They start to go through them to see who was Fuzzy talking to on that last night before he was murdered. And they noticed it was a woman.
Okay, now we've got a name.
The chatter on the streets at the time when Fuzzy is killed is like, everybody is like in awe. We didn't have a clue on who could be responsible for this. You know, you have haters in this industry. You're gonna have haters. Like, people are gonna look at you and be like, ah. But to hate you so much to take your life, to hate you so much to do it execution style, we didn't know anybody that wanted to inflict that kind of harm on Fuzzy.
January 2014. Chicago police are months into the murder investigation of John Fuzzy Atkins, with very few leads, when they finally receive his cell phone records.
There's a particular name, LaDonna Curry, that had conversations with Fuzzy very shortly up to the time that he was killed. And so, okay, now we've got a name.
At this point, police are trying to make the connection. Who was she?
28-year-old LaDonna Curry was born and raised in Illinois.
LaDonna grew up in Roseland, another neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, a very close-knit community.
As a teenager, LaDonna attended Finger Academy High School.
LaDonna was known as the life of the party. A lot of friends, always had people around.
After high school, her friends introduced her to a man named Andre, and her infectious personality drew him in.
He was different from LaDonna. He was more calm, more reserved personality, very responsible, and that was something that really attracted LaDonna to him.
LaDonna and Andre's relationship quickly flourished, and the two started a family.
They are parents trying to navigate this new life that they are building together.
She got to be a full-time mom because her husband worked as a mechanic and made some great money.
In January 2013, after having 4 children together, the two finally decided to tie the knot.
They were kind of in it for the long haul. This is something that she's very excited about. They have a already built family with their children.
Now police want to talk to LaDonna after discovering she was the last communication Fuzzy had before he was murdered 4 months ago. On January 3rd, 2014, investigators bring her in for questioning.
She was very cooperative. She came in, she said, yes, she was aware that he was murdered. As it turns out, LaDonna Curry lives down the street from where Fuzzy is murdered.
LaDonna admits that even though she is happily married with 4 children, she still enjoys clubbing.
She said she would often frequent a lot of these clubs or parties that Fuzzy would promote. The two of them met in 2010. They struck up a conversation. They developed, a liking for one another, decided to continue to communicate. That led to a sexual relationship.
According to LaDonna, she had been having an off-and-on relationship with Fuzzy for about 3 years.
LaDonna tells detectives it started before she and her husband got married, and then continued. Although neither one knows about the other.
LaDonna was pretty frank. She said, I have a husband. I actually love my husband, but I met Fuzzy, a few years ago, and we've had a number of sexual get-togethers.
She said that night she had actually texted Fuzzy to hook up.
She told him that her husband was drunk that night and that this would be a good opportunity for them to hook up and do what they do. And She said he had agreed to that.
But LaDonna claims he was a no-show.
Around 3 o'clock, Fuzzy said he was on his way to meet her, but that he had to stop off just down the street from her house really quickly to meet someone.
She stated that she ended up falling asleep, as a matter of fact, because she never heard back from him. She was actually pissed off, and it made a message to him about 10 o'clock the next morning, something to the effect that, I hope you had a good time with the person that you was with. She shared that message with the detectives.
LaDonna told police that she found out a couple of days after Fuzzy was killed that he was murdered in the neighborhood. She was devastated.
Detectives ask why she never came forward with this information.
She had to kind of stay in the shadows because she was having an affair. She said that her husband had no idea, and she very much didn't want him to know.
LaDonna is adamant she never left her home that night, and she has no idea who might have wanted Fuzzy dead.
I mean, she gave a reasonable explanation. She was very forthcoming.
Police will need to corroborate her story, but for now, they let LaDonna walk.
She's the last person, as anybody could tell, that talked with the victim before he was murdered. So that was noted, of course, but it certainly wasn't enough to hold her in any event.
As more weeks go by, the case goes nowhere.
I think in my mind, I had just kind of figured that, that was it. Fuzzy was gone and that we would never figure out what happened unless the streets start talking.
That's when detectives get a little help from Fuzzy's family.
They heard some talk on the street. There's a guy talking about your brother's murder.
As far as my brother doing his own investigation, he did damn good. Damn good.
February 2014, Chicago, Illinois. After questioning LaDonna Curry, who claims she was having an affair with Fuzzy Atkins and was the last person to text him before he was killed, investigators are still no closer to solving his murder.
We're back to a bit of a waiting game.
After 6 months without an arrest, Fuzzy's family is done waiting for police to make their next move.
They got a lot they working on. I get it. But we ain't getting no damn answers, And my brother Gerald wanted some damn answers.
His brother was out asking questions, and he was, shaking the bushes.
As far as my brother doing his own investigation, he did damn good. Damn good.
That February, detectives get a call from him with a tip. Daryl says he has a name.
Daryl, the older brother, was able to get a tip from somebody, say, well, I heard some talk on the street. There's a guy named Jeremiah was talking about your brother's murder.
Daryl tells police he eventually found him on social media, and his name is Jeremiah Taylor.
Police bring in Jeremiah. They want to hear it directly from him, what he is talking about.
On February 5th, 2014, detectives sit down with 26-year-old Jeremiah Taylor. They immediately notice the bandage over Jeremiah's right eye. When they ask what happened, he won't give a straight answer. Instead, he offers up 2 new suspects.
He had heard through the streets the chatter that there was a man and a woman who decided to set up Fuzzy.
Jeremiah claims the woman is named Shamika, and the man is her boyfriend, Montel.
From what he heard, Shamika knows Fuzzy from the clubs. He was known to have a lot of cash and jewelry. She shared this information with her boyfriend, Montel, and then she was willing to set Fuzzy up. Fuzzy came to meet her at the location, and the story that he heard, they robbed him of maybe a couple $1,000s in jewelry. At that point, Montel came up behind him and shot him in the head.
Jeremiah's story seems to match the evidence detectives have, which makes them suspicious. They also learn that he lives in Gary, Indiana, where Fuzzy's car was found.
The next question is, well, do you know where this Montel is? What about this Shamika girl? Well, he doesn't seem to be able to provide information. It's just what he heard in the neighborhood.
They were obviously pretty skeptical of Jeremiah, so they decided to focus on him to find out what his whereabouts were, to find out if he had an alibi.
He was like, oh yeah, I remember it well. It was that Friday night. I was at home.
Jeremiah says his wife, Adriana, was at a party until 5 a.m. while he stayed in. Detectives decide to follow up and speak to his wife. Detectives question 25-year-old Adriana McNeil.
Adriana goes on to say that the night of the particular murder, she and her husband were in fact home together for the entire night.
Adriana says, my husband is a little bit confused. I was actually home the night of August 30th. I went to the club the night before.
The detectives are not 100% convinced of this story.
Investigators request cell phone records for the couple to see if they're telling the truth. While they wait for the records, a few months later, detectives get an unexpected lead.
Police get a call from an inmate at the Cook County Jail in Chicago. He says he has information on Fuzzy's murder.
The information that this inmate relates to the police blows this case wide open.
June 2014, Chicago, Illinois. Police are suspicious of married couple Jeremiah Taylor and Adriana McNeil in the murder of Fuzzy Atkins, when they get a huge break in the case.
Police get a call from an inmate at the Cook County Jail in Chicago. He says he has information on Fuzzy's murder.
Desperate for any lead, detectives speak to the inmate.
He says this woman has come to visit him and admitted to being part of Fuzzy's murder.
She's a friend of his, and it turns out her name is LaDonna Curry.
Police know this name. She was the last person to be texting or talking to Fuzzy on the night of his murder. They ask him to wear a wire, a hidden microphone, for the next time that LaDonna comes to visit to see if they can find out a little bit more about her involvement in the murder.
The inmate agrees. On August 7, 2014, nearly a year after Fuzzy's murder, investigators listen in when LaDonna visits her friend.
They have some conversations, and finally the conversation turns to the night that Fuzzy was murdered.
LaDonna admits to setting up Fuzzy that evening to be robbed, but she wasn't alone.
LaDonna tells the inmate that she, her husband, along with her best friend Adriana, and Jeremiah set Fuzzy up at the club to be robbed.
Investigators learned that the four of them had been friends for years. According to LaDonna, she and her friend Adriana went to the club on Friday, August 30th, 2013.
She says she was at the club that night when her husband had called her and asked her to set Fuzzy up. They knew that Fuzzy was going to have a few $1,000s on him from that night of club promoting.
LaDonna says the plan was for her to to negotiate a meeting with Fuzzy with the promise of sex.
LaDonna tells the inmate that she convinced Fuzzy to meet her and her girlfriend, Adriana, when he finished at the club.
She says that she had spoken with Fuzzy and they had came up with a predetermined spot where they would meet, a few houses down from her house.
When Fuzzy left the club, he met them at the house with the gangway.
When they entered the gangway, that's when LaDonna says that Jeremiah and her husband actually stepped out with a gun and made Fuzzy get down onto his knees and put his hands behind his head.
She said the men told LaDonna and Adriana to leave and that they would kind of take it from there.
According to LaDonna, Andre was the one who shot Fuzzy.
She says then they rob him of his $2,000 in cash, jewelry, wallet, watch, all of these possessions.
On August 19, 2014, police pick up LaDonna, Andre, and Adriana while they look for Jeremiah. They speak with LaDonna first.
They just confront her with that tape right off the bat. There's no choice for LaDonna here. She has no moves, so she just confesses to everything.
LaDonna recounts the same events like she told the inmate, but says it was about more than just money.
LaDonna basically tells the police, my husband became suspicious of my relationship with Fuzzy.
She admits that on the night of August 30th, 2013, she and Adriana went to the club like usual.
But while LaDonna was at the club, she said her husband called her and said that he was looking for someone to rob. That's not something she really wanted to do.
She tried to make it clear that her husband had told her to do these things, and if she didn't do them, then there would be harm done to her.
LaDonna says Andre was outside the club when he called her back.
LaDonna says he has found out that Fuzzy is working that night, and he has decided that that's who he wants her to set up. She agrees, because she thinks that he knows about them.
Fuzzy was a friend, but her husband and her 4 kids was, obviously a stronger connection for her.
The plan, in her words, was that there wasn't supposed to be any violence, that she was merely going to set him up to rob him, to take his money.
She tells detectives that afterward, when she learned that Andre shot Fuzzy, she was horrified.
LaDonna tells police she never would have been a part of this if she had known that she was luring Fuzzy to his death.
LaDonna says later, when they were home, the two fought about it.
She said he had to kill Fuzzy because Fuzzy had the ability to identify him.
Detectives also interview Adriana, who gives a similar confession. She adds that they went back to their home in Indiana and Jeremiah torched Fuzzy's cell phone and ID in their garage.
She also said that Jeremiah took Fuzzy's car and set it on fire to get rid of the evidence.
But not without harming himself first. When he sets the car on fire, Jeremiah then suffers burns to his face,
which explains to detectives why he had a bandage over his eye.
Both of them have given a detailed confession, and so they're both charged with first-degree murder.
Detectives hope that Andre follows suit. However, he isn't as cooperative with authorities.
He, refuses to give the detectives any information. They have to let him go without charges.
A month later, Jeremiah Taylor is found, but he is also released because of insufficient evidence. Detectives update Fuzzy's family and friends while they keep digging.
If you just wanted to rob him or, have a fight with him or, whatever, just to prove your manhood, then do that. You know what I'm saying? But you don't take nobody's life.
I was enraged. It was senseless. You could have just asked him. He would have gave it to you. You didn't have to kill him.
There are people that's willing to hurt you or have somebody hurt you. It's a sad situation at the end of the day. To see that, somebody would want to take your life because of dealings, because of feelings, and they want to get the ultimate revenge. It's sad. It makes you question everybody that you have close to you.
Fall 2014. Chicago police have charged LaDonna Curry and Adriana McNeil with first-degree murder in the killing of radio host and club promoter John Fuzzy Atkins.
The women admitted to luring him with sex to get him into this isolated gangway in an effort to rob him. But they both contend that they had no plans to actually kill him.
With only their word, detectives don't have enough evidence to charge their husbands, Andre and Jeremiah. And when their cell phone records finally come in, it still isn't enough.
The cell phone records that shows them at the club, it shows them at the location in Morgan Park where the crime was committed. Now with the guys, the evidence was more circumstantial.
Detectives decide to continue their investigation, hoping to find more evidence. Then, in 2018, the case takes a turn when Jeremiah Taylor turns up dead.
And it was like, well, how? You know, by way of the streets. You live by the streets, you die by the streets. It is what it is.
The following year, in August 2019, LaDonna Curry and Adriana McNeil are offered a plea deal.
They did not admit to actually pulling the trigger. So the prosecutors would have had a hard time kind of linking them to his murder as far as physical evidence. They were not able to recover a weapon.
Both women pled to conspiracy to commit armed robbery, and as a result, they were both given 15 years.
I felt like they should have threw the book at them. They plotted on this man and preyed upon this man.
As part of their plea deals, LaDonna and Adriana agreed to testify against Andre.
The police thought that the strength of their testimony would be enough to convict him.
On October 9th, 2019, detectives finally arrest Andre and charge him with first-degree murder. In June 2022, 9 years after Fuzzy's tragic murder, Andre's trial gets underway.
In this case, he opted not to have a jury and instead opted for a judge's ruling on the case.
By then, Andre and LaDonna had divorced. But when LaDonna takes the stand, she sticks to the same story.
LaDonna still swears that her husband was the one that pulled the trigger. And she never would have done any of this if it was not for him.
I think that's why she did it. Because it's either go after my brother or deal with this man when I get home.
Andre's defense team strongly disputes those allegations, saying LaDonna as well as Adriana have an axe to grind.
It was very circumstantial. There was no physical evidence outside of the testimony of now 2 convicted felons, placing him at the scene of the crime and as the trigger man.
On August 5th, 2024, Andre is found not guilty of Fuzzy's murder.
This is a hard pill to swallow, not just for investigators, but for the family.
I was like, how in the hell is that possible? How in the hell is that possible?
Today, Fuzzy's memory lives on in the loved ones he has left behind.
We was watching greatness unfold right before our eyes. And that was taken from us.
He wanted nothing in return but to make people smile and make people happy. He had so much to give and made such an impact on so many people's lives.
He was that bit of light in the darkness, and I want people to remember that about him.
LaDonna Curry and Adriana McNeil are no longer behind bars, having received credit for time served. But LaDonna still maintains that what she did was for love.
She claimed her man manipulated her into it, although she had to take personal responsibility for her involvement, which she did ultimately.
At the end of the day, she loved her husband, she wanted to save her marriage, and it changed the trajectory of her life forever.
Marriage and children can be the foundation of a solid life together. But when love and loyalty are tested, it can lead even the strongest relationships down a road of betrayal and regret.
She was very close to her family. She was a family girl.
She was only 22, and there's nothing that will ever fill that hole for them.
I just had about 9 gunshots back behind my building.
He winds up locating a silver Lexus with gunshot damage to the driver's side of the vehicle.
The vehicle was locked. There was a black female in the driver's side seat, slumped over.
I saw somebody take off running.
She was always going to be his girl. That means his property.
When we got into the cell phone, there was a saved video.
She was able to speak from the grave.
He wanted to get revenge, and he didn't want her to be happy.
May 22nd, 2021. It's just after 10 p.m. in Walterboro, South Carolina. An off-duty Walterboro police officer is relaxing at home.
Sergeant Ross Hance has lived at the Forest Point Apartments for a number of years, and he was living there at the time.
At 10:14 p.m., he hears a familiar but alarming sound.
He, at that point, hears multiple gunshots. He advises here. He hears approximately 9 gunshots come from the parking lot area.
He called into dispatch and reported those shots.
Hey, I just had about 9 gunshots back behind my building in Forest Point.
All right, I'll get somebody out there.
I'm stepping outside right now to try to find out what's going on.
All right.
He proceeds to go outside to check the parking lot, trying to find a crime scene.
As the off-duty officer went to look around his cruiser, he noticed that there was a silver Lexus parked next to his car.
He winds up locating a silver Lexus with multiple signs of gunshot damage to the driver's side of the vehicle.
He saw a silver car with the windows busted out, and that's when he saw the victim.
The vehicle was locked. There was a black female in the driver's side seat, slumped over, appeared to be unresponsive.
More officers arrive on the scene.
In order to gain access to the vehicle, the responding officers had to use what's called a lockout kit.
As they attempt to reach the victim, calls continue to come in to 911.
911, where's your emergency?
We're at Forest Point. I think somebody already called because cops are already out here.
Yes, ma'am. Did you hear anything or see anything?
I didn't see anything. We just heard the gunshot. I can let you talk to my neighbor, and she can tell you what she saw, maybe. Hold on one second. She's coming up the stairs. She was scared because she saw something. Hello?
Did you see anybody?
I saw somebody take off running. That's what I saw.
The officers gain access to the vehicle.
The bullets clearly came from the driver's side door, so they came from the passenger side to try to render aid.
She had a lot of wounds on her from the glass that had kind of embedded in her skin and cut her when it shattered.
She had several gunshots. She was deceased. They searched the car, searched her persons, and they found her ID, which identified her as 22-year-old Danisha Holloway.
When they identified her as Denasia Holloway, Officer Hance also knew that she was also a resident within the apartment complex.
They were just trying to figure out why someone would do this in, her point of residence. This is her parking lot to her apartment. Who thought that they could do this and get away with it?
Denasia Alexis Holloway was born on January 21st, 1999. She grew up alongside two brothers and a family of 5.
She was the only daughter in her family. Her family really loved her and idolized her as being that only daughter.
Denasia went to R.B. Stahl High School in North Charleston, where she excelled at track and also participated in ROTC. According to her family, Denasia was an incredible track star. In her senior year, they said she broke the record for the 100-meter dash, which is absolutely amazing. She ran it in 13.5 seconds in April 1st, 2017. That's just incredible. Denasia enrolled in Coastal Carolina University in 2019, and she majored in biology, scheduled to graduate in the class of 2023.
By January 2020, Denasia was dating Justin Carroll.
Justin was 21 at the time they met. Denasia was 22. They were really young, and, anyone being in love in your early 20s is going to be pretty much a honeymoon phase.
In October, the couple moved in together. They shared an apartment in the Forest Point complex, along with the Denasia's fur babies.
She was a humble, sweet person that really loved animals and loved to give her time to different, organizations in the area, but also really spend time with her family and appreciated that element of her life.
In early 2021, Denasia and Justin ended their relationship, and he moved out. Denasia planned to leave her apartment in Walterboro.
She had just graduated and was coming home. She was trying to move back to Somerville to be with her family, which is where they currently lived.
Denasia also took a new job, working for a major shipping company, and started planning her future.
One night, Denasia started getting nonstop text messages from Justin. So the way she handled it, she sent him a picture of her and her friend to kind of get him to see, listen, I've moved on.
She was getting out into the world again and starting to travel and seeing this new guy. Things were looking up. She was about to move out of those apartments and was looking forward to moving back home with her parents for a little while.
But on the evening of May 22nd, 2021, Denasia is dead inside her car in the parking lot of her apartment building. Homicide detectives arrive on the scene.
Well, they began to secure the crime scene to make sure none of the evidence was tampered with, and also to locate any kind of spent casings in the area.
They found 6 .40 caliber shell casings. And what's important about that is shell casings can be used for identification of the suspect, because if he loaded the gun, his prints may be on the shell casing themselves. So that is very valuable evidence.
The coroner pronounced her dead. At that point, she was removed from the vehicle, a search of the vehicle, and the vehicle's processed.
A couple DNA swabs were taken from the vehicle that night. When we take DNA swabs, we don't know right away that anything is actually on the swab. You have to send that off for testing. But the palm print indicated that someone was on the outside of the vehicle touching it in some form. When Denasia was discovered, her car door was shut.
Investigators thoroughly searched the inside of Denasia's vehicle for more evidence.
Nothing was taken. Her purse was still there. Her cell phone was there, so it wasn't a robbery.
What we do when we encounter a phone or a victim, or any case that we seize a phone, our normal process is to log it into evidence, and we do have to obtain a search warrant to go any further as far as looking into the phone.
Her phone could have any kind of messages, any kind of recordings on it. Who knows what she could have on her phone. From there, they started to canvass the area, which means that they're knocking on doors, seeing who heard what, who's seen anything. Officers noticed several residents standing on the balcony, and so they knocked on the door, asked if they seen anything, and some said they seen a male running from the scene in very dark clothing, but it was so dark, it was hard to identify his face. They said, yes, we heard the gunshots. We ran outside. We saw a possible white male running with a hood on and with a mask covered half of his face, so we couldn't really see who he was, but we did see him run from the scene.
Is the masked man Denaja's attacker?
In crimes of any nature, especially violent crimes like this one, investigators quickly will try and turn to security camera footage, and that can be, from anywhere that had an angle of where this crime occurred.
At that point, they didn't know what was going on, but the apartment complex has surveillance cameras. And so what they did was contact the apartment complex manager, who let them in to review that camera footage. You could see some movement beside her car, and then you see the stocky white male running away.
After 22-year-old Denaja Holloway is shot to death in front of her apartment building, police in Walterboro, South Carolina obtained surveillance footage from management.
They made contact with the apartment complex so they could review the video evidence, because there was multiple cameras at the scene.
On one video, investigators see Denaja's vehicle pull into the apartment complex at 10:05 p.m., minutes before the first 911 call.
They observed another vehicle following behind Miss Holloway pull off and park out of sight of the cameras.
So as they look through the video, they can see that her Lexus pull in, backs in to the space next to the patrol car. Her lights are still on.
After parking what appeared to be a pickup truck in an out-of-the-way area, they saw this white male walk towards the location where she was parked, but kind of linger around behind the building.
Within minutes, a white male subject is seen approaching the apartment complex main office, then approaching the 200 building. He's later seen walking away from the 200 building, lighting a cigarette, and then approaching Miss Holloway's vehicle.
He goes to the car, and you can clearly see that he's aggressive, talking to her, leaning over to the window. You know something's going on, but he's really blocking the view by the camera with his body. You can't really see what's going on.
The next thing you see is the unidentified male running away back toward the front parking area.
Even though they had this security camera footage in the nighttime, in the dark, it's still very hard to pick up any clues. They can see a figure, but they can't really make out any identifying, features of this individual.
They also can't get a clear shot of the truck. Across the street, they find more cameras.
There's a nearby church which gives us a better look at the vehicle, and as far as potential make and model, you can tell it's a later model vehicle, but we didn't have a good look at the plate.
Investigators reach out to Denaja's family to deliver the heartbreaking news.
You're never prepared for it, to see people grieving, but it's something you have to do. You approach the family and you tell them what happened with sincere, but as an investigator, you want to make sure you let their family know that you're going to solve the case and bring justice for their family members.
When the family first found out about Denaja's death, instantly they are shocked. They are beside themselves and just don't even know how to handle this news.
The coroner is the one that actually gives the notification to the family. I and any other officers involved, we just keep working the case. That leaves me in the position to just do nothing but find the suspect.
Investigators get details about Denaja's death from the autopsy.
She had been shot at least 4 times, according to the pathologist's report. The fatal one being the shot to her neck, which killed her almost instantly.
A theory about the killing takes shape.
It was a specific target car with none of the other cars, with nothing taken. He was shot 4 times, and it just seemed like it was just personal. It didn't seem random at all.
She did not call 911 right away, didn't try to drive away at that point. It was something personal. She knew the individual. You have to look at a possible past relationship, a friendship gone bad, a family member. So at that point, they knew that they would have to dive into her history.
Investigators run her name through the system. They learned that on January 7th, 2021, police were called to Denaja's apartment over a domestic dispute between Denaja and her then boyfriend, Justin Carroll.
Ms. Holloway refused to give Justin her phone. He thought she was cheating. She wouldn't unlock it. He got angry. She refused to open her phone. So then he went to the back bedroom and pulled out the gun out of the dresser drawer and put it to her face.
Denaja called her mom during that incident, and her mother called the police to report this. Her mother was taking it very seriously.
By the time the police arrived, Justin was no longer there. Justin fled, taking the gun with him.
Police finally caught with him. He was charged with domestic violence and had an order of protection put on him. An order of protection is very specific of what it does. What it does, it protects the victim from being contacted by the suspect. So at that time, he could not text her, he could not call her, leave any kind of message to a friend or family. He had no contact at all. It was what the order says.
After the restraining order, I believe she distanced herself a good bit from him. She stayed within the apartment complex. He had moved out at that point.
Just went back to his grandparents and lived with them for a while, so they had totally split up and was separated. Ms. Holloway finally went back and lived by herself later on.
Police run a background check on Justin Carroll. The incident with Denaja wasn't his first brush with the law.
In 2016, Justin had 5 counts of attempted murder against him, so he's used to doing violent things.
Those charges were eventually reduced.
He had been convicted of assault and battery in the first degree, and he was forbidden from carrying a firearm.
Justin was sentenced to 8 years of probation, but his probation was revoked in March 2018 when he was found in possession of a gun and a controlled substance. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but released on probation in 2020, shortly before he and Denaja met. Justin's history and violence against Denaja makes him suspect number 1.
He became a person of interest at this time because he has the means and the motives to maybe do this.
Investigators pulled Justin's DMV records.
It gives us a DMV photo along with his height and weight.
They compared it to the video surveillance and his DMV photo, which listed him as 5'6", 230 pounds, and saw that there was a large resemblance there.
That put Mr. Carroll kind of at our top of our list of people we really want to talk to. At this point, we had a potential murder suspect.
Investigators compared Justin Carroll's driver's license photo to surveillance footage taken from the scene where his ex-girlfriend, Denaja Holloway, was gunned down.
That kind of helped close the circle on him a little bit more. His height and weight and his DMV photo really kind of, it was good enough for us to say we're kind of pointed in the right direction.
Detectives also learn what kind of vehicle he drives.
That vehicle's registered to family members at an address in a different part of the city. We had made contact with the family members that night. They had notified us that he was at work, and from work called them and told them he was going to leave town and go to Charleston.
The last thing investigators need is for Justin to leave town.
Family members were asked to see if he would come back to Walterboro, and talk to law enforcement.
Justin told them that he was in Ravenel, South Carolina at the time, and that he would agree to come back and speak with them in reference to the shooting.
This time, you knew he had a violent past in history, and that also that they had domestic violence between each other. So they want to get him in custody as soon as possible.
Taking no chances, investigators ping Justin's phone so they can follow his movements.
Investigators obtained a search warrant through Verizon for the GPS data location and cell phone mapping. We have an investigator with our office who conducts all the mathematical information and basically is able to show what that information means.
He was in the area of the Forest Point Apartments at the time of the murder and then headed north to the Ravenel area and then back into the Walterboro area.
The pings kind of confirmed that he was making his way back.
But suddenly, his route changes.
They noticed by pinging his phone that he wasn't coming towards the police station at all.
There was a bolo put out. Be on the lookout for a white single cab GMC that was en route coming from the Charleston area.
Officers with the Colleton County Sheriff's Office located him in the area of Roberts and Boulevard, conducted a traffic stop on him.
They did a felony stop on him because you're high risk at that time because they knew he probably had a gun on him.
Put the car in park and turn the vehicle off. Take your left hand and open the door outside. Step out with your hands up. Hands on your head. Hands up. Step out with your hands up. Step out.
The police had their guns drawn. They asked for Justin to get out the car. He got the car. He complied, and then they took him to custody.
We went ahead and towed the vehicle and seized his phone at the time, and he was transported to our Criminal Investigations Division for an interview.
Walterboro PD took him in for an interview. When he was told of Denaja's death, he was not very emotional.
Investigators asked Justin where he was at 10 p.m.
Justin had said, he left work around 10 and traveled to Charleston.
And then he had gone to see a friend in Ravenel, and they went to downtown Charleston from there. When questioned about exactly where they went and what they did, he was very short on answers. He couldn't tell them really anything at all.
Justin says his friend goes by the name Blessing Doctor. But Justin's version of his whereabouts don't match what investigators saw when they tracked his phone.
He had given us specific locations of where he had been in downtown Charleston. None of that showed on his GPS coordinates.
As suspicions around Justin grow, detectives ask him for one more thing.
During that interview, they presented him with a GSR kit. He consented.
A gunshot residue test is where a person's hands are swabbed, and what it is, the chemical blowback from a gun. When you fire a gun, it'll leave a residue in your hands. And we swab your hands, we can tell if you fired a gun within the last 24 hours.
It's not an instant test. It takes time. There's a lot of factors that play into that testing.
At one point during that interview, he did request a lawyer, so we had to let him go. I didn't have enough probable cause to arrest him at that point.
Investigators attempt to contact the man Justin said he spent the evening with.
The individual they identified as being Blessing Doctor, no one could ever make contact with him. Nobody knew anything about that individual.
It wasn't a strong alibi. In the end, I just don't think for investigators it was enough to say Justin had absolutely no part in this.
Needless to say, at that point, he's on our radar. We're going to do our best to kind of track his movements.
Investigators in South Carolina have a single suspect in the brutal shooting death of Denasia Holloway. Her ex-boyfriend, Justin Carroll. The day after the murder, they secure a warrant to search his truck.
Myself and another officer, we went through the truck. There was nothing in the truck to take. It had been completely cleaned out, and that kind of added to our suspicion.
Investigators seek a search warrant for both Justin and Denasia's phones. While they wait, they get a lucky break.
My next step was executing the search warrant for Denasia's phone. We knew that she had been with a male companion of some kind on vacation, presumably in some sort of romantic relationship. I kind of had a hunch that maybe he would know her passcode to her phone. So we went to his residence, asked if he had it, and he gave it to us. And so that way we were able to access the cell phone.
An individual lives their life through social media, texting, phone calls, communicating with friends and family. You could find a life story and history of day-to-day events of what is going on in that individual's life.
When we got into the cell phone, we went to the camera roll in the phone, and there was a saved video in the camera roll portion of the phone. It was a very short, maybe 8 to 10 second clip of Justin Carroll outside of Denasia's what appeared to be a car door. The timestamp and the date was exact to our homicide.
Denasia instantly felt this threat. She parked next to a Walterboro police vehicle, which in the instance is the safest thing to do, is trying to be as close to law enforcement as you possibly can put yourself. So she saw that immediate threat, and that's when Denasia pulled out her cell phone and began recording this interaction on Snapchat.
Miss Holloway saw me in my vehicle, he's following me in my parking lot, and I'm locking my doors. So she's trying to get away from him. She wanted nothing to do with him. She even locked her doors. And he still walked up on her trying to have a conversation.
And it was very clear that it was Justin Carroll on the video.
He's wearing a COVID mask around his chin. As he approaches the vehicle, he does pull the mask up over his face. At that point, the video ends.
Seconds later, Denasia was killed.
The phone never uploaded the information to social media.
The video did not show the actual crime, just the fact that he was there and that he had been approaching her at the time of the crime, or near the time of the crime.
Investigators note that Justin's appearance in the video is different from what he looked like in his interview, just a few hours later.
They noticed in the Snapchat video that Justin had a full head of hair, a lot of big hair all over his head. But during the interview, it was shaved.
Individuals who commit a crime will usually try to change their appearance to include changing of the clothing, haircuts, facial hair.
They knew something was up because it was totally different than what it was on the video prior to the day before. So they was very concerned about him fleeing the area and trying to conceal his identity.
If Justin did shoot Denasia, he likely tried to cover his tracks immediately.
I think he probably went to somebody's house, cleaned up, showered, shaved his head, cleaned out his truck, and got rid of the gun. Because when Colleton County Sheriff's Office pulled him over, one thing that they noticed about that truck was it was extremely clean. There was not a cup, a piece of paper, a fast food bag, anything in that truck.
Looking at the timeline of what happened, he had likely ditched the gun somewhere on the way out of town, on the way to Charleston or towards that area. We couldn't exactly pinpoint where he may have tossed the gun.
With or without a gun, the video is the evidence investigators need.
At that point, we felt comfortable enough to go ahead and secure the arrest warrant for Justin Carroll.
But they need to act fast.
This time, the investigators feel that he was trying to conceal his identity and probably flee.
On May 24th, 2021, 2 days after Denasia Holloway was gunned down, Walterboro police prepare to arrest her suspected killer.
Number one, you have the gunshot residue on his hands that clearly showed that he had shot a gun within the last 24 hours. And then also you have the Snapchat from Mrs. Holloway's phone that shows him clearly walking up to her at the crime scene on the same night, the same time frame.
If investigators hadn't found that video as quickly as they did, he could have already been far gone.
But investigators have kept a close eye on Justin since his interview. So, on the night of May 24th, they know exactly where to find him.
When we arrested Justin Carroll, he was working at the local Pizza Hut at the time. He didn't put up any sort of fight or argument or anything like that.
And at that time, he had a mask on that he wore around his neck. This was similar to the one on the Snapchat.
If Justin had been planning to flee, he never made it.
They proceeded to conduct a secondary interview on Justin Carroll. Justin did not elaborate on any further about the incident.
If you still want to talk to us, would you still want to lawyer like you said? I still want to know you.
He refused still to talk this time. He asked for an attorney. So at this time, he's still playing hardball.
They collected the cell phone from him at that time, and they impounded the truck.
Investigators finally received the search warrant for Justin's phone.
We had the forensic dumps of the cell phones. Cole's phone seemed to have been pretty much wiped clean. The text message exchange that appeared on Denasia's phone was actually not on Cole's phone at all.
The oldest text messages between Denasia and Justin were sent 5 days before the murder.
Her messages began with Justin Carroll when she went to Jacksonville, Florida on vacation. Justin basically was trying to start conversation with her about, money, needing items for work, that he still was in love with her. And then quickly the conversation turned jealous, and he started accusing her of being with somebody else.
When she did respond finally that she was in Fort Lauderdale and that she was with someone new, I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And he said, go ahead and have fun while you can. To me, that seems like the threat.
Males that are a perpetrator of domestic violence, they feel like their victims are their property. And because of that, they can never, date anybody, go with anybody. And Justin's mind, she was always going to be his girl. That means his property.
5 days later, Denasia returned home to Walterboro.
There was some serious concern about her driving home with her own vehicle. Her father allowed her to take his vehicle and drive home to her apartment in Walterboro.
She left her parents' house at about 9 p.m. that night, and he was on her tail as soon as she came into the apartment complex, which was about 10:07. I don't know how he knew exactly when she was getting home, but he did. He had obviously been watching and waiting.
There was nobody else around that vehicle at the time. It was just him. and ultimately pulled a gun and shot her multiple times.
Justin is in custody, but bringing him to justice will be up to prosecutors. They know a guilty verdict isn't guaranteed.
It is a circumstantial case in that the entire murder was not caught on film, but everything conclusively pointed to Cole. And when you put all the pieces together, that's when you see the big picture.
In April 2024, Justin Carroll goes on trial for the murder of Denasia Holloway.
It took almost 3 years to get to trial in this case, but we did finally get there.
Denasia had a large group of family supporters backing her mother, father, family members. Everybody showing up to show support and want justice for this crime.
Mom gets very, very emotional. It was very difficult for her to take the stand, but it was very important, and she knew that. She was able to lay some of that foundation.
She talked about Justin's first arrest, having to call 911, the urgency of having to pack up Justin's things to get them out of the apartment, even having to change her daughter's cell phone number several different times. It was a very scary and stressful situation for the both of them.
After the breakup, and despite the no-contact order, Justin continued to harass and threaten Denasia.
So at that time, he could not text her, he could not call her, leaving kind of message through a friend or family. He had no contact at all. It was what the order says. But he violated several times because he refused not to stop seeing her, texting her, or harassing her. He stalked her, and he simply would not stop.
Although no forensic evidence definitively places Justin at the scene, the result of a gunshot residue test is another strike against him.
The interesting thing about the gunshot residue evidence in this case is that there was just one particle on him of gunshot residue. Gunshot residue begins to slough off of you as soon as you shoot or are near a shot firearm. We believe that Justin Cole Carroll went and cleaned up and changed shirts, but this was one particle that he missed, and there's no reason that he should have had any gunshot residue on him, given what he was telling police. The best evidence that we had was a video that had come from Denasia Holloway's camera. I've never had my victim be the star witness in a murder case before, and thankfully, she took that video and was able to get justice for herself. I mean, that's incredible. I've never seen a piece of evidence like that. She was able to speak to the jury from the grave.
These, key pieces of evidence are coming out against Justin. The gunshot residue, the video. Those are the things that really make it hard to believe that he didn't do it.
Justin's defense is straightforward.
Their defense was that there's reasonable doubt, that you can't really see him in the video's not that clear.
After less than 30 minutes of deliberation, the jury delivers its verdict.
The verdict was guilty, and he was sentenced to 60 years.
When the final verdict came out, Denasia's family was a sense of relief. Instant tears between all family members.
Denasia's family was point blank saying this would have never happened if he had not been let out on bond for his first charge. They were frustrated with that because if the judge had not made that decision, Denasia would possibly still be here today. She was only 22 and she was the only daughter in the family, and there's nothing that will ever fill that hole for them.
I wish that we had been alerted that he was having contact with her prior to the murder. but it's difficult. You don't know whether you're going to stir something up or stop something. And I think she was doing the best she could. It is tough to protect yourself from people that resort to this kind of violence over a very small thing.
What should have happened was, and this is what we always kind of advocate for, if she had let it be known or had the awareness to know that every time he reached out to me, even with it via text, Instagram, social media,